Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I'm so pleased to have with me a very distinct guest, Honorable Gary Mar. Gary Mar here is to tell us and talk to us about the opportunity for all of us to acknowledge those individuals who served day and night our communities, and talking about the Alberta Excellent Award. Mr. Mar, thank you very much for joining me today.
Assalamu alaikum, shukram. It's wonderful to be with you here today, Sam. I mean, this is an important recognition for that the province of Alberta puts out, the Alberta Order of Excellence, and I'm happy to talk about it today.
I'm impressed. You already said a few Arabic words. I just wonder, where did you catch that from? Like, what if you give us a little bit a background about yourself and about your organization?
Well, for myself, I'm born and raised here in Calgary. My grandparents came to Alberta around 1900, so a long time. But I've lived in other parts of the world, and particularly when I worked at the Canadian Embassy in Washington, there were many Arab people that I would deal with over there, and you learn a few words, and and of course, as an elected person, I spent a lot of time and you know. With the faith communities here in Alberta, and so you pick up a few things along the way.
Beautiful. So we're here mainly today talking about the Alberta Order of Excellence. If you don't mind, just I want to say a few words in Arabic, just in case we have some people who don't speak English. في معنا السيد جاري مار ليحكي لنا عن شلون هي بدنا نترجمها بالعربي، يعني ميداليه لنقدمها لاكثر الناس اخلاصا وخدمه للمجتمع. Alberta Order of Excellence، يعني ان شاء الله بلاقيكم ترجمه افضل باللغه العربيه، بس نحن بدنا نحاول نلاقي، او من خلالكم انتم المستمعين، نلاقي الاشخاص اللي نحن بنعتبرهم مميزين في مجتمعنا العربي الكندي في البرتا، ونحاول نقدم لهم هالميداليه هاي مقدمه من حكومه البرتا، تعبيرا عن امتناننا لجهدهم وشغلهم. وخلينا نتعرف على شروط الترشيح من خلال السيد مار. Sorry about this, but I think I gotta say a few words here. So tell us a little bit about the Alberta Order of Excellence, if you don't mind.
So I serve as the chair of the council for the Alberta Order of Excellence, and so we recognize the outstanding contributions that Albertans have made. It may be to the province, it may be to the country, or it may be worldwide. And this order has been around since the early 1980s. And over that span of time, 212 people have been recognized for their particular outstanding contributions to our province and our country. And so you can imagine that 212 people being recognized when there's a population of 4.7 million people. These are really the best of the best. And these are people who over a lifetime, have contributed greatly to, to the lives of Albertans, and, promoted the esteem of Albertans, sometimes on a world stage. And so we put out for nominations, and we're talking to communities throughout Alberta to accept nominations from communities for people that they think have had an outstanding contribution to Alberta or to Canada or to the world. Remarkably, last year, I think of the 8 people that were given this recognition, I think 3 of them were new Canadians. They were immigrants.
Oh, nice.
So it is an extraordinary recognition. And to give people a comparison, I mean, it is Alberta's version of the Order of Excellence, which I think more of your viewers would be familiar with.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a sense, it's an even greater recognition because there are so few that are given.
Wonderful.
So if you think about the people who were awarded last year, I mean, it would include people like Prime Minister Stephen Harper was given the Alberta Order of Excellence, and and of course his name is well known, but there's other names that are not nearly as well known. So, for example, last year, a person who was an immigrant, his name is Joe Lucas. Joe had worked on technologies that eliminated acid rain by putting in scrubbers that would get rid of sulfur dioxide that goes out smokestacks. So we never hear about acid rain as a problem anymore, and it's because of an Albertan, Joe Lukash, who developed this technology.
Beautiful. So I kind of have two questions, but I'm gonna start with the first one. Is there any so to speak conditions or requirement for any person to be nominated from the government standpoint, or
So
just
the answer is
anybody
no.
with the community will push forward? There's no conditions per se.
Well, two things. One, you have to be an Alberta resident. Two, you cannot nominate yourself. You have to be nominated by someone else. And
Right.
three, we don't accept nominations of individuals that are deceased. You must be a living person in order to be nominated. And if you go to the Alberta government's website, look up Alberta Order of Excellence on the website, you'll find all the forms that you need to fill it out. And I think what's really important is that people talk about extraordinary accomplishments. Like there are a lot of Albertans who have done great things in a local community, but they haven't had necessarily the kind of provincial or national level of importance or recognition. And that's what we're looking for. But, as I've said before, there are many new Canadians that, have chosen to live in Alberta, chosen Canada as the place where they want to be, who have made great contributions, and we're prepared to recognize them as well. So the filing deadline for consideration for this year's nominations is February the 15th, 2024.
Okay.
But if you don't get it in time for that, we keep those files on for 3 years. And so if you don't get it in time for this year, we'll continue to accept and review those nominations over the next 3 cycles.
So this nominations, is that something? I take it like everything will be done online. So you can nominate a person. If you don't mind, just because I'm not really familiar with the process here, can you just enlighten us a little bit more about the process itself in terms of nomination? What's the requirement? Is it just like I want to nominate Gary Mar, I said a few words about him, or I have to write a resume, a story, I give you a lot of details, or just a matter of just nominating a person with some basic intro?
No, it's got to be more than just basic information, because the nominating committee really has to look at the content that is in the nomination papers themselves. We recognize that for some people it's more difficult than others, but because of language issues. But to have the help of somebody who can translate the contributions that are made by an individual, we need a complete story to be able to consider an individual. We don't do the research independently as to what the contributions are, but when we see it, we then verify all the things that are said. That's our role. And so the more complete you can make it, the better. Now, it doesn't have to be in letter perfect English.
Mm-hmm.
It can be in point form. It may not be completed by one person, but it may be a composite of many people who make contributions to that nomination. We'll accept all of that, but we're looking for the most complete narrative as to what the contributions are of the individual being nominated.
I see. So what mechanism you used, or preferences, if you will, to choose? So let's say you have 100 or 200 nominees, and what's the process like? How do you pick? And also, so how you pick the candidate or the winners, and also how many positions or how many winners will be awarded this year?
So we try and keep the number of people who are awarded to 8 or fewer.
Okay.
And they come from all kinds of different areas, because people have made tremendous contributions in many different areas. So last year, there was a person who was a teacher for 35 some years, but then went on to become a professor at the University of Calgary, and went on to write many books about the history of Western Canada.
Wow.
And so over the span of 50 years, this person has recorded much of the history of the province of Alberta. That's probably a name that most people wouldn't know, but Dr. Max Foran has made a big contribution. We have people who have made great contributions in medical science. So, for example, people like Dr. James Rajat is a medical doctor who's a researcher at the University of Alberta and has done remarkable work on diabetes. And so his contributions to the research in areas of diabetes that have made things better for diabetics is recognized around the world. And so he's given a contribution. We've had people who have come from the agricultural community because the things that they've done to improve crop yields and agricultural science and agricultural practices and that allow our farms to be more resilient, more productive, and getting our products to the world's markets. People in agriculture have been recognized. So there are many, many categories. The arts, music. Katie Lang, who some people will recognize as an Albertan who has done, well recognized as a musician, it has been recognized. People who have brought gold medals home from the Olympics, like Becky Scott, is a member of the order. And so these contributions come from many, many different categories.
Oh, I see. Honorable Gary, Alberta is one of the hottest spots for new immigrants, whether internally or from outside. And a lot of the new communities and new immigrants and newcomers, they are not really familiar with this kind of acknowledgement by societies. So I would like you to just help me out here. Try to give us like a few simple reason why new immigrants' involvement and engagement is so important in this kind of award and civic activities.
I think that's a really excellent question, and I'll start by saying that we reach out very, very broadly to many different communities, not only geographically throughout the province, but also our First Nations, the Arabic community, the African community, the South Asian community. We reach out broadly and do interviews like this one to inform people as to what this award is all about and about recognizing the achievements of people that come from many different places in Alberta and in many different fields. And I think the reason why it's important for new Canadians is to gain a sense of pride and acceptance and integration into our culture here in Alberta and our culture here in Canada. And this is something that was considered to be very important when this recognition was first created back in the 1980s, is that we want to celebrate what Albertans do, not only for themselves, but that have meaningful contribution to others. And so to me, you're right that there are some communities that have been around longer than others. And, before our show started, I talked about how my grandparents came from China around 1900.
Right.
So we're an immigrant family as well, but my experience is different than somebody who may have come from another part of the world to choose Canada as being the place where they wanted to make their lives. And I want them to know that they are not only welcome, but if they do great things, they should be recognized for it.
And also, I would like just to your input on where we came from. Usually, these kind of awards, it's given to like extremely well-known, wealthy politicians related to the ruling parties, or related to some we call it like you're well connected. And those are the people from our background, they will get this kind of award. And I don't want people to be intimidated here in Canada to say if you are not connected, you're not going to get the award. So really, I think the message here is anybody that you think have done an excellent work and he's distinct in his own contribution to the society need to be acknowledged / awarded. So you don't have to be just have like a massive resume to be accepted or to be looked at as long as you have something to say, like you've done something unique to the community. It's not like if you belong to this party or that party, if you're rich, if you're wealthy, if you're white or black or whatever the case. This is like really about the work that's been done by individuals to be recognized more than just the privileges that person has.
Sam, I think that's a really good summary. This award is not about who you know, but what you've done. And so there are many people who have been accepted with this honor who most Albertans may not have heard of, but they may be familiar with their work. So, for example, a woman named Maureen Biachini Purvis put together a program. Her parents were both serving members of the military, and she made it a habit and a promise to her parents that she would always recognize veterans on Remembrance Day. And so she got in the habit of putting poppies on the graves of veterans. She started this program, and it's called No Stone Left Unturned, or No Stone Left Alone. And that program, she started with school kids who on Remembrance Day would go out and visit the grave sites of veterans, and they started putting poppies on them. That program expanded throughout Alberta. It's gone to other parts of Canada, and it's gone to other parts of the world. So there are school children in Poland who place poppies on the gravestones of veterans who from Canada lost their lives fighting in the Second World War. So do many people know Maureen's name? No, but the kind of work that she did.
They know the kind of work she did. Yes, so true.
Yeah.
So, Honorable Gary, I really appreciate the time you're giving us here, and just want to seize the opportunity also to tell us quickly about your foundation, the Canada West or Canadian West Foundation, and tell us a little bit more about that as well.
Sure. The Canada West Foundation is one of Canada's oldest public policy think tanks. I'm the president and CEO here. We've been around since 1971. And what we do is we promote policies that provide greater economic opportunities for the 4 Western provinces, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And we focus on 3 major areas: trade and trade infrastructure, number 2, human capital, and number 3, natural resources. And so, for example, in human capital, we'll look at the data and we'll talk about how it is that new Canadians can be better integrated in participating fully in the economy of Canada by recognizing their credentials and recognizing their skills and competencies. Because when it comes to immigration, our doors are wide open in this country, but the walls are really high. We want to make sure that we knock down the barriers so that new Canadians who choose to live in Canada, have a better opportunity to participate better in the economy with the skills and the competencies that they bring. On the area of trade, there are many similarities between Alberta and, say, Saudi Arabia. The ambassador of Canadian ambassador to Saudi Arabia is a friend of mine. So we helped put together an event where, working with the Gulf Coast Research Center, which is a think tank in Riyadh, we did a webinar where we brought in people from Alberta and from Saudi Arabia to talk about what the opportunities look like for the exchange of technologies and trade, and between our country and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region. So we get involved extensively in these areas. We do deep dives. We provide nonpartisan advice to governments, both provincial and federal. And I will give the same kind of briefing to the federal Liberals as I will to the federal Conservatives, or the NDP here in Calgary, or the Conservatives in Alberta or Saskatchewan, or the NDP in British Columbia and Manitoba. So public policy is really important in order to breathe life into the great ambitions and creating the opportunities for Canadians.
And bring new ideas, I would say, from all different people in Alberta or in Canada. Wonderful. Honorable Gary Mar, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to give you the last word here to, if you'd like to say anything for that the award before we wrap it up.
Sam, you were very well prepared, so I don't think I have anything else to add except to say thank you for the opportunity.
I really appreciate your time, Gary, and hopefully we're going to be able to nominate and award the best of the best. There's a lot of people among us that work hard silently. When they started doing great work, they didn't think about, oh, I'm going to get it awarded, I'm going to be recognized. Those are the individuals who really we owe them at least to acknowledge some of the work they've done by at least put their name up to this award, and let's make this award for those people who really work hard and deserve to be part of this process. And hopefully we're getting great when I have an amazing group of people will be granted this award. Thank you very much for doing this, Gary, and best of luck with this. When the result will come out?
So we accept nominations until
February 15th,
and then the awards will be announced sometime later in the summer, and then the induction ceremony takes place in November.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mr. Mar.
Thank you, Sam. Shukram.
أهلا وسهلا. Bye-bye.